When Stampede hears that Paul D has left 124, he feels guilty for having told Paul D about Seta's crime without considering her family's welfare. Now, Paul D is gone because of what Stampede told him. Stampede reminds himself that he has a duty to Seta and Denver by virtue of their connection to baby Suggs, of whom he was very fond and whom he spent a lot of time with. He thinks about her late life depression, which deeply saddens him. He tried to convince her that continuing to preach God's word, but she claimed she had lost all motivation after the white man's intrusion into her household. The last time he had been to 124 was to carry her body out of the house and take it to the clearing. He wasn't allowed to bury her there due to the laws of the white people, so he ended up burying her next to the baby girl. Seta and the townspeople had never made up, and baby Suggs' funeral was full of spite and hostility. Ironically, that's what baby Suggs stood against. So baby Suggs, holy, having devoted her freed life to harmony, was buried amid a regular dance of pride, fear, condemnation, and spite. As Stampede thinks about Seta and her pride, he begins to wonder if his own pride made him tell Paul D about her past. For the first time since baby Suggs' death, Stamp returns to 124. When he approaches the house, he hears a clamor of disturbing, disembodied conversation. He can only discern the word mine. Shamefully, he raises his hand to knock. Although he has a habit of walking into houses without knocking, it is the one privilege he claims in exchange for the good he does for the Cincinnati community. Stampede feels uncomfortable entering 124 unannounced. He stands awkwardly at the door and thinks about what he ought to do. Stampede is not strong enough to confront Seta, however. He tried to knock at the door 6 times. He can't enter 124 without knocking, and he can't bring himself to knock upon the door of baby Suggs' house. Finally, he admits defeat. Turning, he walks quietly off the porch. Spirit willing, flesh weak. Seta's on the inside looking for ice skates and trying to follow baby Suggs' advice to lay it all down, sword and shield. She is trying to look for the ice skates among others' shoes. She is thinking about the pattern of happiness, trying to let go of the fact that she had once had 28 days of happiness 18 years ago. Seta's scrubbing the floor with Denver trailing behind, but she leaves it all behind when Beloved appears with the very skates she was looking for. So Seta takes Denver and Beloved skating on the ice behind her house. No one sees them fall. For Seta, falling down on all fours gets her to laugh and cry at the same time. Denver and Beloved understand. They show their sympathy through a touch. They walk home while holding hands. Once home, Seta heats up some hot sweet milk. They all wrap themselves with quilts and sit in front of the cooking stove. It's like a nice, homey campfire. How peaceful. Then Seta hears a click. The click comes from Beloved when she starts to hum. Seta remembers that moment. She sees Beloved profile and gets it. Beloved's her daughter. That's how Beloved knows about the song she's humming. Seta made up that song for her children, and no one else knows it. Seta's calm now, and she takes care of the girls and goes upstairs to her room. Seta's late to work after 16 years. Her boss Sawyer is yelling at her for being late, but she doesn't pay any attention. Then she makes pies that are too sweet. Seta is now thinking about food, about what she'll take home. Those are gone, and so are her pies, but there's some stew. She could eat her meal at the restaurant, but she never hangs around at the restaurant to eat. She does, however, take stuff like the butter, a little salt, maybe some kerosene from her workplace. She doesn't like the shame of white people passing and looking at her from the local store as she's waiting in line outside with all the other black people. She's not proud of stealing though. She then recalls an incident between school teacher and Sixo. School teachers accusing Sixo of stealing show. Sixo disagrees. He thinks he's not stealing because he's actually increasing school teachers' earning. His logic is, if he eats well, he'll be able to work longer and harder because he'll have the energy to do so, thereby increasing the wealth of Sweet Home. School teacher thinks his argument is clever, but beats him anyway, saying, definitions belong to the definers, not the defined. Seta thinks that school teacher took away their ability to hunt with guns, so they had no more meat to eat. So they had to steal in order to round out their diet.
He doesn't even knock. You have to show that first time he goes, we can try that multiple. Pig.
No, stop. Hey, stop! That's my pig! Stop! That's my pig!
I'm increasing your capital by feeding myself this pig.
Definitions belong to the definers, not the defined.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.